for the state, as members of the press. In front of you are 4 members of parliament, but we represent all the religious organizations, in particular the Catholic members of parliament, the Protestant members of parliament, the Muslim community, and indeed all people of goodwill who subscribe to the views which we are going to express here. Here in front of you, my name is Innocent Obiri. I'm a member of parliament for Bobasi. I'm a chairman of the Catholic MPs Caucus. On my left is Peter Kaluma, member of parliament for Homa Bay. He's also a member of the Catholic MPs Caucus. And equally important, who is sponsoring a bill about reproductive health, which is going on in the Kenyan parliament. And next to me is Mrs. Honorable Samsam Mohammed, the Mombasa women representative, representing the Muslim community. Then the Honorable Charles Nchoke, MP for Bonchari, is a member of the Catholic community. We have prepared a statement. We could have been many, but others are in parliament and others have gone. And because of the long waiting we did here, some of those who have come have walked away, but we represent their interests. Our headline is our objection to the signing of the post-COTONOU agreement of 15th November 2023. In June 2000, the African, Caribbean, and Pacific group of countries, member states of the European Union, that is the ACP EU countries, signed the Cotonou Agreement in Cotonou, Benin, to operate for a period of 20 years with effect from 2003. The agreement lapsed on 31st October 2023, but has been extended by resolution of member states from time to time as a new agreement is negotiated. Post-Cotonou agreement has met resistance and has not been agreed upon by all member states for seeking to import and impose, I emphasize, LGBTQ, abortion, and unacceptable ideas into the agreement. This is contrary to the founding objectives of the ACP EU partnership, which was to reduce and eradicate poverty and integrate the ACP countries into the global economy. As members of parliament, and at this point I'll leave it for my colleague, Honorable Zamzam, to read.
As members of Parliament of Kenya, we are concerned at the efforts being made to have, As the members of Parliament of Kenya, we are concerned at the efforts being made to have the agreement signed before all the member states agree to its content, and more particularly before removal of the repugnant conditions. Number 1, abortion is prohibited under Article 262 of the Constitution of Kenya, and no agreement can make it lawful in Kenya. The agreement's inclusion of the establishment of sexual and reproductive promotes abortion, homosexuality, and comprehensive sexual education in place of sex education policy that is age appropriate and scientifically proven. 2, homosexuality, LGBTQ perversions are not part of the body of human rights in Kenya. In fact, by dint of sections 162 to 165 of the Penal Code, same-sex acts it deems as offenses against nature and remain criminal offenses in Kenya. By the treaty compelling signatories to offer special protection for LGBTQ persons, it gravely offends the Kenyan positions on the issue that is aforementioned. Mheshimiwa.
As members of Parliament of Kenya, we urge the executive not to sign the agreement before the obnoxious provisions are removed unconditionally from the agreement. The Constitution of Kenya requires that all agreements, treaties and conventions be ratified and approved by Parliament in order to have the force of law in Kenya. Parliament shall not ratify, approve any agreement signed that derogates from the Constitution, our laws, that are repugnant to the nation's sense of morality, culture, and seeks to import foreign ideals which have not been universally agreed upon by all humanity. We take notice that the first executive order by former President Barack Obama conditioned the grant of aid and development funding to the support and promotion of homosexuality and LGBTQ as human rights. The European countries, in a like-minded approach, have pegged economic cooperation, grant of aid, and development of funding to ACP countries agreeing to recognize and promote the LGBTQ agenda. Kenya will not trade our culture and values for money. End of our statement.
Kama kiongozi wa Waislamu katika bunge pamoja na viongozi wenzangu ambao tuko na jopo letu la viongozi wa Kiislamu, sisi tunapinga kabisa. Hatuwezi kuruhusu sheria ambayo inaenda tofauti na maumbile ya kibinadamu kuweza kuingia katika taifa letu. Hatuwezi kuruhusu mambo ya LGBTQ kuwa katika sheria ya taifa letu. Hii ni kuleta hasira za Mwenyezi Mungu katika taifa hili. Tayari tuna mambo mengi sana ambayo yanatukumba katika taifa hili na hatuwezi kuleta laana ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Kama Waislamu tumekataa kabisa sheria hii, na ikiletwa bungeni tunaenda kupinga. Na tunaomba wabunge wenzetu, muwe mrengo ule mwingine, muwe katika mrengo wa Azimio, sote hili ni jambo ambalo linahusu wananchi wa Kenya, ni jambo ambalo linahusu yule mtoto wako wa kiume ambao umemzaa, unataka awe daktari, awe mwanaume ambaye aweza kudhibiti familia yake, leo ageuzwe kuwa ni mwanamke. Ni mambo ambao sisi tunakata kama mzazi, kama mama. Siwezi kubali mtoto wangu wa kike olewe na mtoto wa kike mwenzake, msichana mwenzake. Siwezi kubali mtoto wa kiume aolewe na mtoto wa kiume mwenzake. Ni kando na maumbile ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Na kama mama Mombasa County pamoja na wakazi wa Mombasa County, sisi tumelipinga, na hata umenituma pia nilipinge ndani ya bunge. Asante sana.
While Mr. Kaluma is waiting to answer where he is with his bill, we, as members of Parliament of the Catholic faith, who have been joined by others, ask a very important question. The European Union and the Western countries want to give some conditionalities for foreign aid. We wonder, what is this so important that they would want Kenyans, for example, to make it a law to allow homosexuality as a condition for giving us aid, or LGBTQ as a condition of giving us aid? What is so important to them that they must condition us to do that before they can give us aid? Instead of giving us aid or using our own culture and our own legal system to make laws and not being conditioned. That is one of the questions we ask ourselves, and we think that there is perhaps something more that we can see or that we know. Number two, the particular agreement we are talking about, one of the most drastic provisions is that when a child is born, this child will not in the birth certificate, you will not indicate whether this child is a boy or a girl. That you will have to wait until the child is 6 or 10 years for the child himself, all the parents, to decide whether this child is a boy or a girl. So the definition of a boy or a girl, or the gender, is going to be left to the whims, not what we see, because we know right now how to define a boy and a girl. So with that, and of course, those are the practical aspects, but also the moral aspects that the faiths will represent, the Muslims and the Christians. The faiths will represent, find this law repugnant to the teaching of Christianity and to the teachings of Islam.
You know, I'm avoiding you today because of bad flu. So, okay. I wanted you to ask all questions to them because I don't want to be with them. Is there any other questions remaining? Yes, sir.
Then you can ask them, we will not take.
Yeah, I'm very sorry I have difficulties addressing you today. But my colleagues here address you always better on this matter because we are of the same common thinking. This is because of the flu I'm currently under. Why we are before you is that today the African, Caribbean, Pacific, and European Union countries are signing what we call the post-COTONOU agreement. The agreement which was made in Cotonou over 20 years ago was for development and to encourage trade between ACP countries and the EU countries. And that is how it has always operated. Now this agreement, as we have said, lapsed some time back. It has been subject to negotiations between the states. And as we have said, it has met a lot of resistance, mainly from the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. Simply because of the conditions being introduced into this current agreement, which were not in the former agreement. These conditions are that for you to benefit from fundings from the European Union, you must accept homosexuality as a human right in your country. And monies will not be ring-fenced for purposes of development, but that states should compete on the basis of how fast you make your laws to be aligned to promote homosexuality, what they are calling LGBTQ rights. And LGBTQ is essentially homosexuality because you know L stands for lesbians. It is woman-to-woman sexual acts. G is gay, man-to-man. B is bisexual, going with A that you find in front of you. T is transgender, the facilitator. When I say today I'm a woman, it means I can sleep with another man, yet I'm biologically a man. So it is many words, but essentially they say plus to mean it is just homosexuality, howsoever you look at it. So they are now saying that for you to partake of the development benefits and the aids under the ACP-EU agreement, you must sign to agree that you'll be promoting homosexuality, not just in terms of your state policies, but also in terms of our laws. That is why we are saying that the executive of Kenya should not sign that agreement. But we are taking refuge in the fact that no agreement signed by the executive or anybody else as a force of law in Kenya up and until it is ratified and duly approved by Parliament, especially the National Assembly. So we are here to assure the country that whatever document may be signed outside there by whoever from the executive will not see the light of day as a law that can have force of law in this country. And we will object to it at the time of ratification. We have also said that the imposition of homosexuality as a human right started and largely gained momentum when Obama became president. I want you to go back to read history. You will confirm that the first executive order President Barack Obama signed was to say that homosexuality are human rights. In the second part of that executive order, he appointed Hillary Clinton to be the principal promoter of homosexuality across the world. And in the third condition, they said any donor-funded project, any donation coming from a U.S. organization must be conditioned upon the beneficiary state or organization promoting LGBTQ as human rights. Essentially, we have said here that in Kenya, homosexuality is not a human right. To the contrary, in Kenya, homosexuality is a criminal offense, and it remains punishable as such. There is a push to put in comprehensive sexuality education and, of course, abortion and what they call body autonomy. We are saying in Kenya we are not just protesting for the sake of it. But if you look at our constitution at Article 26, Sub-Article 2, number 1, Article 26 talks about the right to life. It says everybody has a right to life. Sub-Article 2, the Constitution of Kenya prohibits abortion, except in those rare cases where the life of the mother and or the child are in grave danger, in which case you may even lose both of them. In those exceptional cases, if certified by doctors, the life can be maintained, terminated. But we are saying under the Constitution at Article 26 that life begins at conception. And I wanted to ask you to take yourself back to the time of your birth, to the day of your birth, to the hour of your birth, to the minute of your birth, to the second of your birth. You will walk into your mother's body and you'll see life of a human being as a continuous process from the time it comes together, the cells come together, to the time you check them out. So we are saying it is not just a constitutional provision, but because it is a constitutional provision, you also know any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void to the extent of inconsistency. And so we are saying the new ACP-EU agreement being signed today is importing these things as conditions. And we are saying we will forestall it, we will thwart it, and whatever is signed outside there as a treaties embodying these people, will not see the light of day here. We are requesting all ACP and EU member states to go back to the reason as to why this partnership was created for economic development and partnership, not to promote things which are against our culture and values, of course, as a people and as a country. And so we have rested on that. It will not see the sense of day. And so we are warning them, if anybody from the government of Kenya is somewhere signing that agreement, know it outside there, that is signing a useless piece of paper. It can only have force of law in this country when we ratify it. And I can assure you, so long as the members of parliament here seated and the others not with us here are within this parliament, it will never see the light of day. You asked me about how strongly the President of the Republic should come on this thing. I wanted to say that the mandate to make laws rests with Parliament. And so this matter is still a matter for deliberation and consideration within Parliament. I would have asked the President to speak more just by waiting for the bill to leave Parliament for his assent. So I'm least bothered what the President thinks, what he says at this stage. My keenness is to urge all members of Parliament as representatives of the people to be armed with the right information so that when the bill is ultimately on the floor, we can pass it without much ado to safeguard our country. So I would not judge the President. I would wait for his position when the bill reaches his desk. Let me join you in suggesting that it would be very good for the President as the head of state also to keep, speaking to this matter. Because people think it is elitist. People think we speak about it out of any sense of hate or animosity. But really, this thing is hurting the Kenyan population in very deep areas beyond Nairobi, deep into my constituency. Students are educated, have been recruited, and are being paid 60,000 each because they don't have alternative sources of money. So it is high time the President spoke, and we would be glad if he kept speaking. But as we urge him to be speaking, the First Lady also to be speaking, we urge members of Parliament to be on the alert, to keep getting relevant information, and to push. As I move to the end, let me congratulate the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom for the statement he made a short while back. Remember, he spoke about two issues. Number one, he said that each and every parent has a right to choose and to be informed about the kind of education their children are going through. And if you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, whose 75th anniversary we are celebrating this year, Article 16 of the United Declaration of Human Rights speak to the right of each parent to decide the kind of education their children have. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights at Article 28 speaks to the protection of culture, and it says nobody, no one shall impose their own culture on another. And so we are not away from, those of course sanction the family as the fundamental unit of the society. These provisions have been repeated in our constitution, and so we are not going very far. I want to tell you also that the Prime Minister of UK currently, said, if you remember, that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and he has not been sanctioned. Uganda passed a law against homosexuality the other day, and they are being threatened with all sorts of sanctions. Okay? And I wanted to warn our executive that if for any reason you will delay assent thinking will be hurt, ignore it. We want to push this law to become law. Look, all research institutions in the US, in Europe have confirmed that homosexuals wound more easily and are therefore more exposed to HIV/AIDS infection. Why then would you stop a country which has stopped homosexuality by law from benefiting from HIV/AIDS vaccine? Essentially, you are saying we want these people to infect one another so that the big pharmaceutical firms in the US and in Europe have where to take their HIV/AIDS drugs and vaccines. And that is why I tell you this homosexuality agenda is not a moral or a legal issue. It is a push by the big pharmaceutical industry, okay, to have a market for their products. That is why they encourage things like sex change. Once you are mutilated, remember as a male person, your main hormone is testosterone. They'll keep injecting you with the female hormones the whole of your life so that you can survive. Who are you benefiting at that time? The big pharmaceutical industry. So this is a very big push, and as I told you last time, they have captured even these very big organizations. So we want them not to sanction Kenya selectively. Go to Google and just type in anti-LGBTQ laws, United States of America. You'll get this year alone, over 700 bills have been proposed across states in the House of Congress and the Senate seeking to take away these various aspects of LGBTQ. By June this year, the biggest cloth line in the world was Target stores. Approaching June, they typed those LGBTQ things, including on clothes for children. And by then, the American society objected to purchasing anything from Target stores. And you can also cross-check that. And they said, you go work as a company, you must go broke. And Target cloth line has been collapsed by the American society. The Pilsner or Tusker of the United States has hitherto been Bud Light beer or Budweiser. They again put a man to represent a woman as their brand ambassador. The American society objected to it. And by the way, that beer has collapsed in the United States. So why this hypocrisy? Where the societies in Europe and America are running from this thing, where they are making laws against this thing, but in Kenya, in Africa, across Caribbean, Pacific, and Islamic states, when you propose those very laws they have made themselves, it becomes an issue. And I can confirm to you, those over 700 bills, 70 of them have so far passed. You've seen the various, governors in the United States signing them. There is one even in the, Senate in the United States where they are seeking to remove homosexuals from the defense forces, as was the case before. So I'm saying there is too much hypocrisy. Let us not look at what they think, but let us look at what is good for our society as Kenya. Firstly, you asked about the state of our legislative proposal. As I've always updated you, we did our part, and I did my part to conclusion on behalf of the religious caucuses within that parliament, and I submitted the matter to the parliament processing system now to deal with. I'd indicated to you that we had passed through the parliamentary budget office. We had the matter had been remitted to the Social Protection Committee, for what we call pre-publication scrutiny. I know it concerns Kenyans, as it does concern me, that the Departmental Committee on Social Protection, which has been helping to deal with pre-publication scrutiny over this bill, has taken very long. In fact, not just very long. They have gone beyond their time. And so let me confirm that I very recently, I think barely a week ago, dispatched a letter to the Speaker, seeking his intervention in the matter. And in that letter, I indicated how previous speakers dealt with delays by committees in processing of legislations. Remember what Speaker Justin Muturi used to do? If there was delay, he would give communication on the floor and order that such legislative proposals proceed to publication. So I've made a request to our Speaker, the Right Honorable Moses Wetangula, to now give leave and direction that the Social Protection Committee, having stayed with the legislative proposal beyond the time set, the matter goes for publication, because in any event, they will still also do public participation. So I've made that request to the Speaker, and I'm waiting for the Speaker to communicate. But I don't want, that part relating to my bill to color this thing. The event taking place today is very critical, and it is the one event I want us to focus on more. Because when we sign this thing and hoping it comes here and it is ratified, we would have destroyed our society completely. And therefore, the warning we are sending is something you now know, that it is easy for executives to be manipulated because they are an unelected leadership of a nation. It's very easy for be manipulated, but you can never manipulate Parliament. And our luck is that our Constitution, the Constitution of Kenya, says that nothing you sign outside there as a convention, as a treaty, as an agreement, can have force of law in the country before it is approved and ratified in Parliament. And we are on standby to wait for whatever they bring to kill it, if they dare sign it. But we are saying don't dare sign if those provisions are there. And we are not just asking this of Kenya. You've seen so many states. I think states like, yes. Is it Namibia region? Uganda, several states
have
refused to sign. Other states, including Hungary,
yes,
have signified reservations with those repugnant or obnoxious provisions. So we are just asking our executive not to take the lead, but also not to sign it. One, because it is against, those provisions are against our Constitution, but also because they are against our culture, our morality, and our standing as a religious society. Thank you very much.
88.2 FM. We are in charge. 88.2 FM. We are 88.2 FM. We are in charge. 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 88.2 FM. We are in charge.